From Tuscaloosa, Alabama, you're watching the SEC on ESPN. It's game number 3 for the number 3 team in the country, Alabama. Southern Miss has come to Tuscaloosa. Crimson Tide haven't lost a non-conference home game here since 2007. They trail by a field goal as Southern Miss came right down the field on their 10-play opening drive to cap it with a field goal. Joe Tessitore and Brock Heward with you. Nick Saban says he still has questions to be answered with his title contending team. Brock, what are your questions to be answered?
The conversation all offseason has been about the quarterback, and going to be no different tonight. An opportunity for Blake Sims, I think, to really establish himself. There's a reason he's coming out to start these games, really establish himself as the guy as the Crimson Tide pushing the SEC play. Secondly, well, it's that secondary that you just saw Nick Mullins, quarterback for Southern Miss, go 5 of 8 for 60 yards and march the ball down the field. Plenty of one-on-one opportunities, and nobody on the back end making the play on the ball. And then lastly, I'm a big fan of Jonathan Allen. What I have seen here the first couple weeks on tape is he's the guy that sets the edge, sets the tempo on that defensive line. I'd like to see the rest of those players really play to his standard and effort and speed.
And Nick Mullins, the sophomore quarterback for Southern Miss, came right down the field, had a couple key completions, 10 plays, 59 yards, used 3:25 of the clock, and as you said, 5 of 8. So Nick Saban's offense, which many have framed this game as really being the final exam of the quarterback competition between Coker and Sims, will get their chance now as Landon Collins and Christian Jones back to return Corey Acosta's kickoff. Here is the very capable Christian Jones. And Jones brings it out to about the 30-yard line. Shannon Spake, the third member of our team. The focus, Shannon, the quarterback situation, the ongoing competition.
That's right, Joe. It is a competition. It's been 14 years since a quarterback competition spilled into game 3 of the season here at the University of Alabama. Now, Nick Saban told me he would like to play both of his quarterbacks here today, but said, quote, we'll just have to wait and see how things go before he decides to make those substitutions. He said that both of these quarterbacks, they complement each other's strengths and weaknesses. So it kind of seems that between the both of them, they're the perfect quarterback.
Blake Sims gets the start, the 5th-year senior, who's a really good teammate type player. And they will start on the ground with T.J. Yeldon, a gain of 5, tackled by Jacorius Cotton.
I'm going to guess we'll see a fair amount of that, especially into the short side of the field. Alabama really wants to put Cam Robinson, their big physical freshman left tackle, on some undersized defensive linemen there at Southern Miss, a group that gave up 295 on the ground a week ago to Alcorn State.
The whistle comes in that time, as they were going with a little bit of tempo.
Prior to the snap, false start, 77 offense, 5-yard penalty, still second down.
There's Lane Kiffin, first year here after being fired as the USC head coach, now the offensive coordinator. Down on the field is Lane. A little more hand-holding going on with this quarterback situation here at Alabama.
Lots of signaling, lots of giving Blake an opportunity to spit the play out through the signals.
Here's Yeldon on 2nd and 10 as they were backed up after the penalty. Watch for the signals from Kiffin here to Blake Sims.
Lane really learned through training camp, getting here this offseason, spending time with these quarterbacks, how to put them in the best position. That's why he's on the sidelines. Really trying to figure out how each Sims and Coker learn, and really felt like by being down on that field and spitting those plays and those signals out, and you could see him. I mean, he is right there on the sidelines and communicating and trying to really help his inexperienced quarterback get set up and get going.
Choppy start here as there's another flag down near midfield.
Illegal substitution on the defense, 5-yard penalty, still third down.
It's Matt Austin, our referee today. So they trade penalties early on. Todd Monken, his 2nd year at Southern Miss. They were 1-11 last year. They'd come up with a win last week against Alcorn State. Make for a 3rd and 2 after they mark it off, and T.J. Yeldon will be the lone back with Blake Sims out of the gun. Here's Sims. Quick roll, quick strike, and who else but Amari Cooper, who is off to as good a start as anybody in college football. Leads the nation in receptions.
That was a confidence throw right there, because Blake could have easily run for the first down. 3rd and short, and nobody's out there on the perimeter. You see all the green grass in front of him. He even has Chris Black in front on the little naked route there, and instead he throws the comeback on the outside. That's not a quarterback that's looking over his shoulder or has any lack of confidence. That's one that's going to rock and fire. That's well done on 3rd down.
Here's Yeldon, as he took advantage of the pulling lineman and moves the chains again. A 14-yard pickup. By the way, Cooper moments ago with the 17-yard reception. He now passes Ozzie Newsome for number 3 all-time in receiving yards at Alabama.
Well, Ozzie Newsome would have really liked that block by Brian Vogler, the tight end, the redshirt senior, really setting up that lane for Yeldon.
A vertical release on the near side, but that was well off the mark.
See some of the signals. Blake's looking over there at Lane Kiffin, trying first to get everybody lined up, then the motions, and then lastly spitting out that play at the line of scrimmage. Get everybody on the same page.
Yeldon, plenty of room and a big result. They said he was down at the end there. Let's take a look at tonight's impact players. Brought to you by Chick-fil-A.
We've seen both on this drive. Yeldon back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. Cooper leading the country in receptions and yards. And the 2 safeties there, the 2 seniors, are going to be very, very active tonight, as you see in Alabama do an excellent job at the point of attack of getting a helmet on a helmet and winning. And Johnson Cotton, the leading tacklers here for Southern Miss, and will be this evening.
Big Jalston Fowler, the fullback in this I formation here on 1st down. And he's going to pave the way for T.J. Yeldon. It was wrapped up after a gain of 2 by Nunez Roches, number 97. Flag is down on the far side back at the 16-yard line. We'll check on that.
Illegal formation on the offense. 2 men in the backfield. Number 9. 5-yard penalty. Repeat 2nd down.
So Cooper wasn't up on the line. And I'll back him up again. You know, Nick Saban talked to us yesterday about wanting to see his offense execute. Come out here on your opening drive. You do move down the field against an overmatched defense, but he wants to see a clean drive. So now a 1st and 15 for Blake Sims. And pressure off the edge. Picked up and crossing route. Here goes Cooper. Amari Cooper. Oh, was that easy? Touchdown, Alabama. 22-yard touchdown for the All-America, Amari Cooper. Griffith makes it a 7-3 game. Blake Sims 2 of 3 for 39 yards. And finding Cooper, who did the rest there. Came in leading the nation in receptions. Gets his 2nd touchdown catch of this young season. Amari Cooper, a tied a school record last week of 13 catches, already 2 catches tonight, plus a touchdown moments ago. If you missed the video, that touchdown is now posted on the Sports Center app, available on your mobile device and tablets whenever you need it. 7-3 Alabama over Southern Miss. Joe Tessitore, Brock Heward, and Shannon Spake with you here from Tuscaloosa. Emmanuel Johnson from the 4-yard line. Gives us a moment to check in with Adnan Verk. What do you got, Verk?
Thank you, Joe. This is Dr. Pepper Stew. Update alongside Robert Smith, Georgia and South Carolina, Dylan Thompson and Rory Anderson for the touchdown.
Boy, and this Georgia secondary has really been struggling, but you can see Herrera right there gets in a trail position as a linebacker. You have to turn around at some point as you get near the back of the end zone.
21-13. Back to Joe and Brock, fellas.
Thank you very much. Very interesting game. Georgia and South Carolina. So many questions about the South Carolina defense coming off that Texas A&M game and now matching up with Georgia.
Pretty amazing overreaction in just one game. What Georgia does, right, to beat Clemson, and on the other side, South Carolina gets beat up and blown out by A&M.
That's what we do. This is college football, right?
Every week matters.
Here's Mullins as he tucks, runs, and safely slides to the 24 for 6 yards. Mullins 2-6 as a starting quarterback. Started the final 6 games last year as a true freshman. And tries to run it on 2nd and 5 and only gains a yard. Let's check in with Shannon.
Well, Joe Tess, the communication was something this Alabama defense worked on this week, and certainly having Trey DePriest back on that field helps a lot. But Kirby Smart, he was addressing his guys from the moment they sat down to the moment they got up during that timeout. He knows at some point Trey DePriest might not be on that field, and even when the starters got back up and went to get on the field, he continued to address the backups, just trying to get them all on the same page.
Yeah, Shannon, as we saw, they were out of sorts without Trey DePriest in that opening game against West Virginia. 3rd and 3. Two-by-two tighter formation here for Southern Miss, as they're going to use a timeout.
Timeout, Southern Miss. The first time out of the half.
So Mullins and Monken will talk things over before facing a 3rd down against that Tide D.
ESPN College Football Primetime is brought to you by Jeep Grand Cherokee, the most awarded SUV ever, and Duluth Trading Wild Boar Mocks, grippy like a big bad boar.
If you need it in Houndstooth, they got it in Houndstooth in these parts. Tuscaloosa, more than just a popular pattern. Southern Miss with a 3rd and 3 against this Alabama defense that's led the SEC in total defense for the last 6 seasons. They bring 4 against Mullins. And that was somehow caught by Triplett. A flag is down as you saw a Crimson Tide defender flash right in front. And it went right into Marquise Triplett's hands.
Personal foul, face mask, 73 of the offense. Half the distance to the goal, repeat 3rd down.
Well, a couple crippling penalties here, and you've seen Coach Monken awfully excited on that sidelines. A 3rd and 2 that Southern Miss defensively has a substitution error, and that time it's Rashad Hill, the left tackle, trying to block the pass rushing group. We already saw Ryan Anderson get involved early, and he just gets the hands up into the face mask, and that's going to draw a critical penalty. And what was yet again another nice play by Nick Mullins and Marquise Triplett and this receiving crew that has won. It was Jabril Washington that time, the dime defender that had come down. And just in those one-on-one situations on the perimeter, Southern Miss has answered the bell here in the first quarter.
And backs them all the way up to a 3rd and 16. Play action. As they try to get it to Smith coming out of the backfield. And they'll be punting from a compromised field position here.
It goes without saying, when you are overmatched physically in so many of these personnel groups and so many matchups, you have got to be so sharp. You can't afford those crippling penalties, both offensively and defensively. And that's too bad for Hill. He's the most experienced offensive lineman for the Golden Eagles, making his 14th start. But that face mask penalty now puts Southern Miss in the hole.
Sarrazin from a yard into his own end zone, punting away to Christian Jones. They almost got through that shield that time. And here is Jones. A lot of room to work with on that near side as he gets it all the way back towards midfield. A good return by Christian Jones. 51-yard punt, 14-yard return. Bama on offense when we return to T-Town. Joe Tessitore, Brock Heward with you here down in Tuscaloosa. 7-3 Alabama, ready to go back on offense. Of course, that means all the attention put on Sims and Coker. It's been the storyline now seemingly through fall training camp in the first 3 weeks. But some unique challenges for offensive coordinator Lane Kiffin. Communication.
It's a big part of it. Even during that last series, you saw Blake Sims trying to get everything communicated with the guys around him. Even though he's a redshirt senior, he's vastly inexperienced. And a lot of conversation with Lane Kiffin and how helpful he's tried to be with both of his quarterbacks. A big reason why he's down on that field.
Play action. Sims plenty of time to choose his options, and he's chosen well downfield, but it is batted away by Kalen Reed. He was looking for Amari Cooper, who had to wait for it for a moment.
And Kalen Reed's the best defender here for Southern Miss. 3 interceptions over his last 3 games. And this is just a little bit late. You could see Blake Sims, like a lot of inexperienced quarterbacks, trying to make sure his receiver was open instead of throwing him open there, and Reed's able to knock it away.
Second and 10 with Yeldon. And his mouthpiece just went flying out on impact that time as he was hit by Emmanuel Johnson.
One of the keys we're going to watch all afternoon is the accuracy of Blake Sims. Nick Saban puts it near the top of the list of what he's looking for. Here's the opening game against West Virginia on a 3rd down. He throws that shallow cross right into the dirt. He comes back today. Southern Miss brings one of their man pressures and just give Amari Cooper a catchable ball. He leads the country for a reason, because when the ball is in his hands, he is a difference maker. So much better accuracy there for Blake Sims on the touchdown pass.
241-pound Derrick Henry now the lone back here as they go with 12 personnel. 2 tights here on 3rd and 2. And he is tackled in the backfield. A fine play by Raheem Nunez-Roches. That's the one standout player for Southern Miss's defense. And you watch film on them, this guy stands out.
In their front 7, the 3rd leading tackler. There's not many times you see defensive tackles leading or near the top of their team. And unfortunately, Leon Brown there is late off the ball. That right guard position has been one where you've seen the snap split between Brown and Taylor. We talk about the quarterback competition. There's still other competition going on here for the Crimson Tide, and that's not good for the senior Brown.
J.K. Scott, freshman punter who's got incredible leg talent on the punt away, and Casey Martin looking to field it. A reverse rotation here as he tries to just pin Martin, and he does so with the fair catch at about the 10. Let's check in the studio with Ednan.
All right, Joe, I know you're a fan of the theater, but not looking good for Terrence Broadway. Louisiana Lafayette and Ole Miss over in the SEC network. Broadway picked off by Sinquez Golston. One of 3 interceptions. Golston has 2 of them. 59-yard touchdown here. Ole Miss trying to get to 3-0 for the 2nd straight season. Back to you and Brock.
Ole Miss, such a talented team with their front line of defensive players. Alabama will be at Ole Miss on October 4th. Of course, they got business with Florida before then.
We hinted at the overreaction of a South Carolina and a Texas A&M. We saw Ole Miss up close and personal. There's no overreaction to that defense. Really at every level, defensive line, linebackers, secondary, there is no weakness there for the Rebs.
Little window dressing from Southern Miss as they bunch and then spread. He's going to take a shot downfield looking for Thompson. And did Thompson haul that in? What an effort that time as they say yes. A completion out to the 46-yard line.
That's going to be awfully close.
Watch the right foot, Brock. Let's see if it gets down before his rear gets down.
Sure does.
That right foot touched the grass before his back end hit the white.
Pretty clear. What a tremendous adjustment by DJ Thompson, the 6'3", 200-pound redshirt sophomore. And you see the knee brace right there on Eddie Jackson, number 4. Tore that ACL back in April, came back a week ago to start against FAU. He's been battling some little back injuries and tightness this week, trying to get the full body back in shape. And there you go, number 2. Okay, quarterback's number 1 in the conversation. Number 2 for me coming into this game is your people out on the perimeter. Can you win these one-on-one matchups? Not real good week 1 against West Virginia, and Southern Miss now the opening drives down for a field goal. And I think that's going to be indisputable. That right foot is down inbounds. DJ Thompson with the go route, the big shot down the field on Eddie Jackson.
After review, ruling on the field is confirmed. First down.
Great athleticism from the sophomore DJ Thompson, who played his freshman year a couple years ago, was a medical redshirt last year, but has come back, gained the faith of these coaches. They feel he has big play capability, and he showed it right there. Mullins is 6 of 10 for 96 yards now. Remember what they were able to do on their opening drive against this Alabama defense. Came right down the field, 10 plays, and got a field goal out of it. And there's Ito Smith, and he couldn't gain any traction as Xavier Dixon was able to make the tackle.
These are going to be tough matchups for this offensive line of Southern Miss. When you just look at the size and strength of Alabama, they should dominate. Kirby Smart felt like the Southern Miss group wasn't to snuff at the point of attack, wasn't even as good as Florida Atlantic was a week ago, so really felt like his front 4 could dominate. But he, like Nick Saban, wants to see this secondary make some plays. That's why I think you're going to see and continue to see some 4-man rush to really find and develop some of these perimeter players.
Like he has here. There's the crossing route that time to Triplett. That was blown up by Landon Collins. The very best safeties in all of college football lost his helmet, so he'll head out for a play.
Yeah, this is a little unique wrinkle this week where they put Landon down in their dime coverage. He's standing there next to Trey DePriest or Raglan's. Right, he's playing down in the box, keeping Jabril Washington back at safety. Because as you can see there, Landon, one of the most secure tacklers in that defensive group.
Here's one of the spots where Kirby Smart and Nick Saban want to see what these talented defensive ends can do. And watch Ryan Anderson standing up on the top of your screen, number 7 too. Batted away. That was Sean Robinson, the 6'4", 320-pounder getting up.
This is about 4 times now we've seen this nickel pass rush group, and you're going to see the big fella right here in the middle, right next to Jonathan Allen and those speed rushers, and you're going to see those guys rotate through as well this season. And Ashawn does a nice job of getting right into the lap of Mullins. Eyes up, heads up, times that jump, and forces the punt.
So Sarrazin back on. Remember, that shield almost didn't hold up last time, but they don't come after him here. As Jones is back, he will plant his feet. Let this one pass by for a touchback, 52-yard punt. Blake Sims and that Bama offense. More of their quarterback final exam when we come back. Eagles had that big comeback opening week. Colts don't want to be 0-2. Eagles Colts Monday Night Football, Brock, 8:15 on ESPN.
Numbers pretty alarming through the years with the new playoff format for those teams that begin 0-2. It is a long climb back. Even though the Colts, the front runners in their division, you don't want to start a season 0-2.
There's a little touch pass straight ahead to Amari Cooper as he tries to weave his way and now goes against the grain. Cooper's all the way back in his own backfield, but he's picking up blocks. Hello, Amari. Welcome to the big time. How about that? He just went 53 yards one side to the other.
And how about his buddies around him? How about T.J. Yeldon right there with the big block? You can see O.J. Howard as he reverses field come back as well and tee off. Not just a guy that catches the quick screens. He is one of the more dynamic playmakers in the SEC.
The stat book's going to show it as just moving the chains for 10+ yard gain, and he crisscrossed the field.
He's got to love this system, doesn't he? Watch some of that Marquise Lee tape this offseason. Lane Kiffin with Marquise Lee, 118 receptions. Lane's not afraid to feed your best player the football in many different situations. The fly sweep, the jet sweep, the bubble screens, quick screens, and obviously the damage he can do down the field as well.
Then there's this guy, Derrick Henry. Look at him move the pile. On 2nd and 8, it'll be 3rd and about 1 as final seconds counting down here in the first quarter. First quarter that saw Nick Mullins for Southern Miss play with some cool composure as they got on the board early. But undoubtedly, Cooper, best in the biz in college football, had the score for Alabama. You're watching the SEC on ESPN. Joe Tessitore, Brock Heward, and Shannon Spake with you here at Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa. 7-3, Alabama, number 3 team in the country against Southern Miss. And you look at the stat line from that first quarter, and probably raises a few eyebrows to see Southern Miss with 3 more plays and the same amount of yards, total yardage as mighty Alabama, facing a 3rd down and 1 now as Blake Sims, T.J. Yeldon as the lone back here.
Better block Nunes Roches right in the middle. 97 made the play on the last 3rd and 2.
And Yeldon was able to break free out to midfield. Shannon?
Well, Joe, remember yesterday Nick Saban told us in order to have success offensively, they would have to control the line of scrimmage. Watching Lane Kiffin down here during that last defensive possession, he spoke to the offensive line the entire time. In fact, he only spent about 5 seconds with Blake Sims because he was talking to those big guys the entire time. Grinded him through the process is what he says.
Yeah, this is not the offensive line of recent Alabama teams. They have talent, but it's some new talent merging up, like that man, number 74, the freshman Cam Robinson, left tackle. Derrick Henry took a moment to find that hole, got himself 5 yards.
To be fair, that crew 2 years ago may have been one of the best we've ever seen in college football.
Chance Warmack and Barrett Jones.
4 of them playing in the NFL. Yeah.
Wanjo.
Where you could line up and it didn't matter what the box count was. You were just going to line up and you were going to overwhelm and you were going to hurt people. You were going to break people's will. That's what they did 2 years ago. Set the tone for everything else. This is a work in progress. True freshman left tackle, a right guard competition, a 5th-year senior that's steady but not overwhelming at right tackle. So the bar set awfully high with what the Crimson Tide had just 2 years ago.
There's no foul for illegal substitution. The player left the field immediately.
Sims 3 of 5 so far today. Yet to see Jacob Coker. His 6th pass attempt goes to Cooper again. And another first down for Alabama. Adnan, what do you have?
All right, Joe, a Taco Bell studio update for you alongside Robert Smith. Stanford's back. Kevin Hogan and Devin Kaju, second time they've hooked up.
Great body control.
Joe, Brock, back to you guys.
Also,
Thanks, Adnan. Busy day of college football. Derrick Henry, only a yard that time. It was good penetration in the backfield, and finally Ja'Corius Cotton was able to find him.
You said earlier that Nick Saban wants to see efficiency out of this offense.
Yes.
I take it a step further. He also wants to see some tempo. And that's really where Blake Sims, I think, over the first couple weeks of this competition with a Coker, distanced himself. There was a crispness, there was an efficiency, there was a tempo. Watch here how quickly he can just get the play communicated, get everybody to the line. They're not a no-huddle, up-tempo team, but you do want to play with some pace and efficiency.
Get the play communicated.
And this is taking too long. I mean, this is simply taking way too long. You should not be at 6 seconds here in the play clock.
Something I want to discuss more with you as we take a look at both these quarterbacks tonight. TJ Yeldon, he's tackled for a loss, but that's really a key part in the evaluation. Everybody gets caught up in the athleticism, and Coker's bigger and stronger. It's got the arm talent, but the simple things that you just described.
Well, Lane was really good and said that second scrimmage, they mic'd both Jake and Blake up. And they're trying to figure out, why in the world is this taking so long? Why are you not getting to the line? Why are you not getting this play spit out? Why is there so much inefficiency? And that's when they decided to get Lane. And you see Nick Saban, I promise you that's the conversation. Get this tempo going. Get this line moving. Get the defense on their heels. Because right now, you can see it. He's trying to, again, signal the plays outside. This whole procedure is just taking a little bit too long.
Kenyon Drake, who is coming out of the backfield there. Sims taking his time here, avoiding the rush, tuck and run, which he can do very well, and he does so inside the 20, where it'll be a first down for Alabama. Brian Anderson finally got him, but a 20-yard run for Blake Sims.
And we've seen that a number of times over the last couple weeks. Plays covered. This is where Blake is really at his best. Maybe it's not all the efficiency in the operation, but a situation like that where there is no panic, what Coach Saban called those instincts that he just has, that third and extra long, no problem, the athleticism to move the chains.
76 yards rushing on the season for Sims, who, remember, his path to be Alabama's starting quarterback included being a running back. He rushed 22 times for 107 yards back in 2011. Moved to quarterback in 2012.
This is where they wanted to run into the short side of the field. Felt like they had some real matchup advantages against a team like Southern Miss. It's a field and boundary team.
A vertical release, and just out of the hands of Amari Cooper. Jalen Reed had coverage on Cooper that time.
And there he is again. Reed showing up. He made the play deep down the field on the post route. There you just see an excellent job with his hands getting in there. Not many times has Amari come up without the football this season. #1 in all of college football. Kalen's aggressive guy, and he doesn't play to the field. He always plays into the short side, into that what's called the boundary. When you're on the hash, right to the top of the field is what's called the boundary. They like to put their physical corner read up there.
They're going to run to the boundary side with Kenyon Drake, and he gets maybe 2 yards that time, tackled by Brian Anderson.
This is where Blake's athleticism has really come into play. You saw it on the last 3rd and 10. You've seen it throughout the season. He's already got a touchdown run under his belt. 3rd leading rusher for the Crimson Tide. See how quickly he can get through his progression and make his decision here in the red zone.
12th play of the drive, facing a 3rd and 8. Goes with the slant. It'll be 1st and goal Alabama as Christian Jones corralled that ball from Blake Sims.
Excellent job here. He can see the soft coverage on his slot receiver, Christian Jones. And once that receiver on the inside on a slant route, Joe, gets inside, just get inside of that nickel defender, it's a bang-bang play. Well done, well executed. Tremendous accuracy there out of Blake.
Sims checks over. Kiffin's been putting in the signals with Alec Morris, the sophomore backup quarterback, as now he checks at the line. Play clock is down to 3. Sprints to the near side. Can he get to the corner? Yes. Touchdown, Blake Sims. A 4-yard touchdown run. That kind of speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Well, it sure does.
As Nick and Lane are saying, what was happening pre-snap there?
Yeah, just a lot of conversation. I mean, this is not going to be, I think everybody just expected this to be a seamless, flawless transition. Just not going to be that way with inexperience at quarterback. Some changes in terminology in your system, changes in your style and the way you're playing. But bottom line, and most importantly, this kid's done this. In his 3 opportunities here to start, he continues to put points on the board.
And he does so Alabama style. 7-minute and 7-second drive spanning 80 yards and 13 plays. The last 4 with the fleet feet of Blake Sims.
When you start looking around the country for guys that are pro-style coaches, Lane's been a head coach in the NFL and been an offensive coordinator in a very successful program at Southern Cal for Pete Carroll. Perfect fit for me. And it's worked out well.
Let's run off the field, guys. Why are we walking?
Well, I think Lane's probably a little bit more laid back than me, but who isn't? I mean, tell me who isn't.
A lot of people across the country thought it was an odd hire, an odd couple of Kiffin and Saban, but they've been on the same page when it comes to Sims and Coker, and this was the scene moments ago of all the communication pre-snap prior to that touchdown with Sims. Michael Thomas on the return for Southern Miss, and he can't get free at the 18-yard line. A flag is thrown in from far away.
During the return, illegal block in the back, number 35, the receiving team. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
Another critical error penalty there for Southern Miss. I told you number one question is still that quarterback and that operation offensively. But defensively, you don't have an interception this year. You saw West Virginia throw for 365 and win many of these one-on-one opportunities. And Southern Miss threw for just about 100 yards in that first quarter. And we saw multiple defenders there with a chance just in coverage to get your head around, rip that ball away, make the kind of plays against Ole Miss, A&M. You know who's coming up on your schedule here. It's not even about Southern Miss tonight. It's about what's ahead and making sure in those one-on-one situations in the secondary, you're winning them.
Southern Miss backed up inside their 10. Tried to pull it and get Dathan Davis releasing. Would have been there, but it wasn't a good throw by Nick Mullins.
It's one of the first real misfires, and you could see it. And Mullins is a tough kid. He has taken a real beating. This program has for the last couple years. Taken a real beating, but as a true sophomore, Coach Monken feels like Nick's exactly the ultra-competitive guy that he wants under center. You can see a true freshman Smith from beginning to end, 25 in this game. We'll find some hope on the other side of some real challenges the last 2 seasons.
Can he get free there? As he was dragged down from behind that time by Dalvin Tomlinson. Be a 3rd and 3 for Southern Miss. Timeout used.
Alabama, the first time out of the half.
Trey DePriest will head over to talk with defensive coordinator Kirby Smart. 3rd down for the Golden Eagles when we come back to Tuscaloosa.
ESPN College Football Primetime is brought to you by Nissan, premier partner of the Heisman Trophy, and Best Western. Stay with people who care.
So the Buckus Award there, the late Derek Thomas. His family came out pregame, was honored before kickoff. One of the National Football Foundation's Hall of Fame Series honorees. The former Alabama great, 52 career sacks for the Tide. Jonathan Allen is a young man who many think can be an all-time great as a pass rusher. Let's see what this Tide defense offers up here on 3rd and 2. Mullins with time and dropped by Triplett.
You're seeing why Southern Miss has struggled, why they've had a hard time with just any level of consistency and continuity. You actually block it up. You see some pressure there from Alabama. It's a man pressure, and you get exactly what you want. You get Triplett running away from Landon Collins there, but just the inability to finish. We've seen it now in all phases of the game. Big reason Alabama's up already.
Christian Jones back at the 40-yard line waiting on Sarazen's punt. See if they can set up a good return here, as Sarazen did not turn that over. And it doesn't even reach midfield, and by not turning it over, it actually bounces back to the 38-yard line. Just a 22-yard punt by Sarazen. Brock, all week long you and I have been talking about, if you're Saban and Kiffin, how do you measure this quarterback competition?
Well, my criteria matched the coaches very, very closely yesterday when we asked Nick Saban. The accuracy we highlighted earlier in making people around you better, elevating your teammates. That's exactly what Blake has done, and he did at critical moments against West Virginia, and you've seen him do already tonight. Really, his 3rd and 10 scramble, his touchdown run there on a sprint right pass. And that's going to be the challenge for Jake Coker whenever he can get in this game as well. Elevate the people around you.
Sims stays in here. Coming up at the halfway point of this 2nd quarter. Swings it out to Cooper. That didn't look to be a forward pass there, as Cooper takes it ahead. Taken down by C.J. Perry. Cooper just inside the 30-yard line. It'll be 2nd and short there.
He's going to hit triple digits this season, isn't he? Marquise Lee, 118 for Lane Kiffin at USC. Cooper well on his way. Just his pace this season, far surpassing anything that you have seen in Alabama over the years.
Alabama's never had a Bortnikoff Award winner. I'm putting it as even money that they have one this year. If he stays the course the way he has started the season. 2nd and 2. Back to Cooper. Sims was a little off balance on his follow through that time. That's 5 catches now for Amari Cooper, and another first down for Alabama.
And you've seen the accuracy in the quick passing game. But this is elevating the people around you. This is 3rd and 10, and everything's covered up, and you're making a good decision. You're playing to your strengths and capabilities. As you referenced earlier, Joe, a running back at one time here at Alabama, and then the touchdown run. And he's been effective on the ground all season long.
Kenyon Drake just muscles his way for 4.5 yards, tackled by Allen House.
Once again, he's signaling he gets the formation set. There he's telling the line either the protection or the run call. Just those signals, getting it to everybody on the same page.
A little spot route to Christian Jones that time, and it'll be 1st and goal, Tide. Seven of 10. Completion percentage is high, as it has been with all the short passes of recent weeks. Play action. Black dragging with him, but he can't find Chris Black, so he tries to find it himself, and he's down to the 1-yard line.
You're going to see a lot of this over the course of the season. You have been used at Alabama to watching A.J. McCarron and Greg McElroy be so effective in the play action in the pocket.
Little tempo there, and a touchdown for Kenyon Drake. The junior from Georgia, his third total touchdown this year. Second rushing. So another scoring drive led by Blake Sims. Kenyon Drake punches it in. Sims brought them down 21-3. Brock, I know you're well aware that the all-new Chase begins in Chicago.
One of my favorite tracks.
The myafibstory.com 400 at Chicago, Sunday at 1 on ESPN, also live on Watch ESPN. Week 1 of 10. Jimmy Johnson, the defending champ, winning last year's title, became a 6-time champ. So short kickoff by Griffith, fielded by Ito Smith. And try to change direction, and it works out just fine out to the 30-yard line. Let's check in with Adnan Virk.
Thank you, Joe. With Robert Smith, an update in Georgia and South Carolina. Todd Gurley, 12 carries, 92 yards, and this touchdown.
Does a fantastic job there. Just great body lean. So much fun to watch that guy run.
Gamecocks up by 4. Joe, back to you. It's been fun.
Back and forth they go from Columbia, South Carolina. Todd Gurley, breakout performance in week 1, instantly putting his name up there in the far too early Heisman discussion, folks. They are not won in September. You may get yourself in the starting gate, but that's about it. First time they put 2 in the backfield here out of the gun, as Mullins flanked by Smith and Parks. Both leak out, and Smith gets it for a short gain, tackled by Landon Collins.
Pretty high praise yesterday from Kirby Smart when it came to Landon Collins. Really felt like he was a mix of Mark Barron and HaHa Clinton-Dix, just in the way he can tackle, that he can cover.
And you know, as great as he is as an All-America, listen, huge recruit, spent his freshman year on special teams, and then shared time with other top safeties a year ago. Here's Parks now. And Collins was pursuing down the line, and then it was finished by Trey DePriest.
And those two are going to make this group go. I mean, those two really have to be the difference makers for Alabama in this brutal SEC West. That you bring Florida in next week, and then it's 4 out of 5 out on the road. And this defense will go as far as those two carry them. They are the difference makers.
Third down and 9. Looks like could be a little pressure off the edge there, Brock. Well, they back out of it. They only bring 4. And that's all you need when you got Ryan Anderson. Oh, Mullins was set up as a target, and Anderson just bowled him over. Brandon Ivory also getting involved there as he came up the middle.
And you want to talk about a positive sign. We highlighted maybe some of the plays on the perimeter. You didn't win your one-on-one opportunities. But once again, developing that kind of depth and the speed rushers that you're going to need with all the passing you're going to face this season, having the likes of Anderson and Allen and Tomlinson all combine and contribute, hugely beneficial as the season evolves.
Oh, that hit a Bama player, it looked like. That looked like it may have been muffed there, as the officials are talking it over, and they'll see where they're going to spot this. And it is indeed Southern Miss ball at about the 30-yard line. That was Justin Penn, who was smart on coverage.
Ruling on the field as the ball was touched by Alabama, recovered by Southern Miss. By rule, the ball is dead when the kicking ball recovers. First down.
Now what they're going to look for here is who did it hit first.
The previous play is under further review.
Looked like Tyron Jones was down on special teams coverage as Christian Jones. You saw Christian Jones signal scatter, but that was not a good looking punt by Saracen, so it came up short. Who does it hit first here, Brock? Rolling on the field is Southern Miss first down.
Well, that is critically important, and you have seen that all day long today in college football. What is the call on the field, and is it going to be indisputable that it goes the other way? And I don't know. I think the call on the field is going to stand there with Jones. And Nick Saban said it to us yesterday, winning that special teams phase, even though the stats showed a year ago and all the efficiency measures that Alabama was the best in the SEC. Coach Saban really feels like they can grow in that area, giving up the touchdown to West Virginia in the opener. He also talked about playing a lot of youth and inexperience.
After review, the field stands. Southern Miss football.
So they take a look and they keep it the way it was called. That Tyron Jones was the first to touch it, and Justin Penn smartly came up and secured that ball for Southern Miss. So good field position here for Southern Miss just before the half.
I think that's the right call. But Coach Saban saying with all these tempo teams that we face, we have got to play some inexperience and youth, not our starters on special teams. Case in point there, the youngster redshirt freshman Jones, not scattering away from the punt.
They're going to take a shot after the turnover. It didn't have a chance as he was looking for Ricard, and Eddie Jackson was in front. That green line shows you the field goal range of Corey Acosta that they're within. Understood 18-point margin, but any points are good points for Southern Miss right now. 2nd and 10. Quickly to Cox, and he is wrapped up by Landon Collins. They're not going to win a battle in space against Landon Collins.
No, and there's a difference putting him down around the box. You go to dime, and he's really playing almost that linebacker position there for plays just like that, whether it's shallow crosses or the quick screens. Bad intentions, that's what he has, according to Kirby Smart, when he finishes those tackles. The hardest hitter, the surest tackler, the best player in the back end of this Alabama defense.
Receivers split 2 by 2 here on 3rd and 10. Trey DePriest in that Bama defense looking for a stop as Southern Miss will call a timeout. We'll take it with them. 2:10 remaining in the half. Will they cash in off the muff punt?
I'm Adnan Inver coming up in the Outback Steakhouse halftime report. Georgia and South Carolina, the only matchup of ranked opponents this week, has lived up to the hype. Plus, the Pirates taking a bite out of Va Tech. What happened there in the biggest upset of the day? And Robert Smith, Brett McMurphy, and I will go no huddle. All the highlights of the day, fast and furious. For now, back to Joe Tess and Brock Hewitt. Guys?
Awful loud here at Bryant Denny right now. 3rd and 10. Muff punt moments ago, and now Southern Miss looking to make the most of it. Little pressure off the edge. He just checked to Smith, and that'll bring up a 4th down from the 26-yard line as Geno Smith made the tackle of Ito Smith. And that's Jerry Harris, their starting right tackle, who was down at the end of that play, a redshirt freshman who they've had to rely on at the right side of that line. He's actually a converted defensive tackle who they moved over. Good sign to see him up on his feet. Corey Acosta will come on to attempt the field goal. 3.79 GPA in biological sciences. Wants to go to dental school. They've been pulling teeth to try to score in the course of the past year. So getting 3 against Bama would be something. 43-yard attempt for Acosta. They're going to use a timeout here. And we'll take a short break. "91 seconds until half here. Joe and Brock with you in Tuscaloosa. Not the cleanest half of football for Alabama.
Not what Nick Saban wanted, really, in every phase. You see the muff punt there. In the punt return game, you've been inefficient at times offensively. Not the dominant effort the coach was looking for heading into SEC play next week.
Here's Acosta. And he puts it through. 21-6. They get a field goal after the turnover. Reminder, you can get your NFL Sunday started at 10 a.m. with ESPN's Sunday NFL Countdown, presented by Snickers with Chris Berman and the gang. And Fantasy Football Now, presented by Papa John's at 11 a.m. on ESPN2. I'm going to be dialing up a little Falcons-Bengals tomorrow, Brock.
8 Crimson Tide from a season ago drafted into the NFL. C.J. Mosley here tonight played a prominent role for the Ravens Thursday night. Tell you what else.
17th overall, and then Clinton Dix went 21st, just 4 picks later.
I'll tell you what else you've seen in this first half is a lot of defensive personnel. You're going to get a lot of turnover at Alabama with the talent you bring in and you develop throughout. Seen a lot of people play defensively in that front tonight.
Christian Jones out to the 20.
Here's a good 2-minute drill. This is an excellent opportunity for Blake Sims to get some quality work in here. You're a no-huddle group. So that communication, which we have seen all night, and you can see Lane Kiffin right there. He's giving the guys that tempo to get it going. You got a couple timeouts. You play fast, but never in a hurry. And a good chance to really operate here, a 2-minute drill before half.
2 timeouts remaining. 1:20 before the half. Got a good, talented sophomore kicker in Adam Griffith. So this is part of the evaluation process, and it's a good look that we get to have of Blake Sims. You have to see Jake Coker tonight. Sims 7 of 10 and 87 yards and a touchdown pass in his first half.
And let's see if we can see O.J. Howard get involved.
Tight ends have been very silent early this year. They were trying to set up the screen that time, but they gave way with some pressure. So it'll be 2nd and 10 as Dashman McCullum was coming in on Blake Sims.
Pretty remarkable that O.J. Howard, as productive as he was as a true freshman a season ago, does not have a reception. Really, the only target was an interception against West Virginia. And Lane Kiffin telling us yesterday that he would like to get that tight end group going.
Lane admitted, he said, we've done a poor job of getting O.J. Howard and Vogler and the rest of them the ball. There's T.J. Yeldon. And he tries to stretch out for about 5 yards as the clock counts down towards a minute. And it'll be 3rd down from there.
Remember, Southern Miss got the ball to begin the game, went down the field for their field goal. Alabama, Lane Kiffin, Nick Saban understanding you'll get the ball to begin the second half. And many times it's that first play. There was that screen pass. And if you can get something positive on that play, you'll continue to be aggressive. And if not, you know you'll get it to start the second half.
Here's Yeldon. And he is taken down right at the line of scrimmage by Jacorius Cotton. So there goes our big hyped up 2-minute drill. Let's see what we get out of Blake Sims. The SEC schedule is right around the corner for Alabama. And I think most would say, including the coaching staff, things need to get tightened up a bit. 21-6 on top of Southern Miss. Shannon.
Coach, what have you seen out of Blake Sims in this first half?
I think Blake's done okay in the game. I don't think we're playing very well on offense up front. We're not running the ball consistently, so He's made some good plays. He's made some good throws, but we just got no rhythm and consistency on offense. You know, we just need to play better in the second half.
So what's your plan for that quarterback position in the second half?
Well, we're going to decide at halftime.
When you look at the rest of the team, I know that you were looking at how they responded. What has stood out to you so far?
Well, the big thing is you know, we haven't had any turnovers on defense. They've changed field position with a couple big plays, and you know, the kicking game right here, we start to get in control of the game, and then you know, ball hits somebody. Ball we should have probably fielded, so it just all goes down to execution, and that's what we got to do a better job of.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Lack of execution and quote-unquote no rhythm. 21-6. Let's join Adnan Verk for the Outback halftime report. That's the full Bama experience as you're watching the SEC on ESPN. Number 3 Alabama up 21-6 at home here against Southern Miss. Glad you're with us. Joe Tessitore alongside Brock Hewitt. Southern Miss came out, had 59 yards on their opening drive, only 49 yards since then. Not that Alabama had much rhythm throughout a very choppy first half, though.
Exactly what Nick Saban said going into halftime, but we had a lot of questions coming into this game, and as always, it starts at the quarterback position because this competition is pushed into the third week of the season. And here's what I saw in the first half. I saw a run, a movement play pass, and a quick passing game. That played to the strengths of Blake Sims, scored 3 touchdowns in 5 possessions, and clearly took care of the football and played within that scheme. Question 2 was your secondary. And that first quarter was rough. That first quarter was won on the perimeter by Southern Miss. The second quarter was all about that Alabama defense. And really because the last question is that group up front. Were you going to create the kind of pressure and havoc, well, really, that your defensive end, Jonathan Allen, set the first 2 weeks? And the answer to that was clearly yes. Ryan Anderson and company affected the quarterback, held the Golden Eagles to 4 yards rushing in a very productive first half out of your defensive group.
Collins and Jones back to field. The Acosta kick. He had 2 field goals in that first half for Southern Miss. It goes for a touchback. Shannon, what do you have?
Pin him down and put some pressure on him, Joe. That is what Todd Monken told me his team needs to do in the second half. He really likes the fact that his guys didn't turn the ball over, but he said when we get in the red zone, we got to put 7 points on the board. So for Nick Saban, it is all about execution in the next 30 minutes. For Todd Monken, it's all about pressure.
Blake Sims is coming out to start this second half. So we haven't seen Jake Coker all night long. Sims 7 of 11, 87 yards. Has the touchdown pass. Also has the touchdown run.
Run, movement, quick passing game.
Play action. Has time. Crossing route and gets it complete to a wide open Amari Cooper. 22-yard reception for Cooper.
And that's our first chunk pass play down the field. They've run this concept every single week against West Virginia. You saw it a week ago against FAU as well from both Coker and Sims. And one of the rare shots down the field with some real good efficiency.
That was a good strike that time. Well done finding Cooper. And Cooper is over 100 yards. He has 7 receptions.
And look at the tempo here. Both of these plays scripted, I'm sure, at half with Lane Kiffin in this offense to get it going. And that's a dart. Playing on the move, I think, is going to be one of the areas of real strength for Blake.
They go right back to it. This time Sims is going to slide down. And it's just inside the 35-yard line. A crisp-looking opening drive here of this second half by Sims.
A little kiss.
Could have been a little more. Would have drawn the flag. 2nd and 5. as the pitch goes to that boundary side, as we've talked about throughout the night, and Derrick Henry gets loose inside the 20, down just inside the 15-yard line. The tough-to-tackle 241-pounder with a 20-yard line.
Well, you love to see this if you're Alabama coming out here at halftime. A little bit sluggish. You see Cotton there, the strong safety, the leading tackler, just duck his head, trying to run into the legs of Derrick Henry, and Lane likes it as well. He knows you get that 240 moving north and south. It's a game changer.
Nick Saban said first half the offense didn't have any rhythm. This opening drive of the second half has some rhythm to it. Kenyon Drake cut back against the grain, kept his balance all the way down to about the 3-yard line. It'll be 1st and goal tied.
Going to see here the quick tempo again. Some of the advantage of being that no huddle group. You saw the touchdown run earlier with Drake, just like this. Get up to the line of scrimmage, catch Southern Miss on their heels.
Sims threw it low and to the outside that time of Christian Jones. 2nd and goal coming.
I like that decision. Accuracy, decision making, elevate the people around you. The storyline's really all game long, and that's smart. First down play into the boundary. Nowhere to go with the ball. You've got 2 other plays. The worst thing you can do is try to force it in there as the field condenses. Throw it away. Find a way to get points.
See where big number 45, Jalston Fowler, goes. I formation where he goes. Maybe they follow. And Drake was stacked up short of the goal line. It'll be 3rd and goal. That was Nunez, Roches, and Cotton doing a good job of reading that.
And what a great story out of Nunez Roches. Kid originally from Belize. Missed a significant chunk of last season, 10 games with an injury. And he's the one guy that continues to flash on film. And Lane Kiffin talked about a real matchup challenge is reaching him and pushing him and getting movement with him. He's won on a couple different occasions tonight.
Big Dominic Jackson, offensive lineman, now lined up at fullback here. And did he ever pave the way for a touchdown for Kenyon Drake? Not by much, but with 320 pounds opening up that hole, it doesn't take much.
Oh, here we go again. I felt it last week with Liggins at Ole Miss. Right? You just
love the big guys, Brock.
In the backfield.
You saw Tarek Wright coming in there to meet him, and he did a good job. But Drake did get in. Southern Miss defensive player is down at the end of that play. And that is Michael Smith, the junior defensive end. He was the only player to start every game for Southern Miss last year.
Well, that's answering the call at halftime. That's going into halftime, as you heard Coach Saban with Shannon say, tempo and efficiency and running the ball. And what did they come out and do in the second half? Very clearly, they ran it. They played with tremendous tempo. And so much of that conversation that you see between Nick Saban and Lane Kiffin on the sidelines is still finding this identity and finding out what this group does best. And I really do believe running the ball will be first and foremost anytime for Nick Saban, the defensive-minded head coach here. And then that play pass and that movement off of it also complements Blake Sims' strengths.
He's 8 plays and 75 yards and far more in rhythm as Griffith has his 4th extra point of the night. That's the way they wanted to start the second half. Blake Sims took him right down the field. Celebrating its 10th year sponsoring the Good Hands Field Goal Nets, Allstate makes contributions to participating universities' general scholarship funds for each field goal and extra point kick. And since 2005, Allstate has contributed more than $3.4 million in scholarship funds. Blake Sims helps with that fund as brought Alabama down the field on a scoring drive. Kenyon Drake's 3rd rushing touchdown of the season. 28-6, number 3 Alabama.
6 possessions, 4 touchdowns, 1 punt, and 1 before half where you were really conservative. That's pretty good efficiency offensively.
Here's Ito Smith on the return. Dragged down just beyond the 20-yard line. Got a little Sunday Night Baseball to tell you about. Nelson Cruz and the Orioles hosting Jeter and the Yanks in an AL East matchup. Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. Yankees-Orioles Sunday at 8 on ESPN.
What does Nick Saban want to see here in the second half against Nick Mullins and Southern Miss? I think pretty clearly some takeaways. Just one takeaway on the season out of your group through 2.5 games. I think he would love nothing more than to continue to get some quality work here with a good rotation up front and find a way to get some of those takeaways that are so necessary if you're going to be an elite defense.
Offense number 9, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Push him back 5 yards. Todd Monken, who had all that success at Oklahoma State. Brandon Whedon, Justin Blackman, and high-flying Pokes offense from a few years back. This is Davis. And he gets back just beyond the original line of scrimmage. Trey DePriest and Landon Collins converged on the tackle. Remember that first drive we were so impressed by? Since then, not so much from Southern Miss. And there's Tez Parks as he gets free and was finally pushed out by Nick Perry. That was a 23-yard run by the freshman.
At just 5 yards in that entire first half, running the football and a little bit of motion right there. You saw the little fly sweep action take some of the eyes of those Alabama defenders away. And Parks, like his buddy Smith, true freshman. Mullins, a true sophomore, a lot of youth.
And the sophomore quarterback here, Nick Mullins, from Spain Park in Hoover, Alabama. They go fly sweep play action this time as Mullins tries to shake free and then smartly slides down before Trey DePriest would have put some harm his way.
You see Alabama continuing to run different personnel on and off the field.
Second and 8. Downfield and through the hands of Kyle Foster. And a flag comes in as they're going to attack Nick Perry here. They're going to talk this over. On first glance, watching it live, it did not look like it would be targeting. That it was a defenseless player. I mean, he did go up for the ball, which often makes him a defenseless player. But let's see if there was forcible contact to the head or neck area here.
And if this is targeting, remember, it will be reviewed.
Personal foul, targeting. 27 of the.
So you know the deal. Rule change was recently altered. As it stands now, Nick Perry is ejected from the game.
And would miss next week's first half against Florida when they come in here, your fifth-year senior starting safety.
So ask yourself when you watch this, does he make contact with the crown of the helmet, or is there forcible contact to the head or neck area? It's as simple as that. Forcible contact to the head or neck area of a defenseless opponent. Now, there was a rule change this year in terms of the review process if this was overturned.
Yes, he's right to the chin.
But first and foremost, you just look at it and ask yourself, is it targeting? the rule states one of two ways: crown of the helmet or forcible contact to the head or neck area of a defenseless opponent.
Yes. He's a defenseless player coming down, and unfortunately, as he's coming down, you have got to change your strike zone if you're Nick Perry.
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed.
That's right.
So forget this game right now. Nick Perry, Alabama's starting free safety, will now be absent when the game begins next week against Florida. And that Kurt Roper, Jeff Driscoll offense that's been revving up.
That's absolutely right. And you hear the hometown fans booing it. They don't like the call, but you have to change your strike zone. A defenseless player, you have got to go much lower than that. That's the correct call.
Nick Perry will miss the rest of this in the first half of that critical SEC game against Florida. Wow. Completion that time to Triplett. Good looking pass from Nick Mullins.
And you emphasize that, and you're absolutely right. This is not just about how you finish out this second half. It's a fifth-year senior that, much like Landon Collins, the two of those guys secure so much of the conversation on the back end of the defense.
Oh, he's one of those guys that knows what he's to do. Yep. He's a program guy. He understands what Kirby Smart wants. Casey Martin, good luck with that. Completely denied that time by Xavier Dixon.
And take a look here at Nick Saban on the sidelines. He's watching the hit right in front of him. And you could see it. You could see the look right there. He knows.
A lot of people have already been talking about the matchup next week right here in Tuscaloosa as that much different looking Florida team comes to town. And now Nick Perry will not be available in the first half as Southern Miss continues on this drive. 2nd and 10. As they keep it on the ground, and getting to the 20-yard line was Ito Smith, tackled by Trey DePriest.
It's changing behavior. You have seen it trickle down from the NFL level to the collegiate level. It's changing the behavior of how these guys hit, of what your strike zone is, and you have seen it. You have seen it have an effect on those type of shots and those type of vicious hits out of the secondary, and just more discipline there for Nick Perry. He could see the whole play happening in front of him. He has got to find a way to change his strike zone.
3rd and 7. Sprints to that short side and just had to get rid of it that time as Dixon was chasing him down.
Coach Monken wanted touchdowns, telling Shannon Spake. He also wanted to see a response from his offense after Alabama marched the ball all the way down the field to begin the second half. That's a pretty good response out of his very young offensive team.
Senior kicker Corey Acosta comes back out. This is a 37-yard attempt. He's had himself a nice night. 28-9, but the big story happened on that series. Nick Perry, starting free safety for Alabama, targeting, ejected. You won't see him in the first half next week against Florida.
ESPN College Football Primetime is brought to you by Chick-fil-A. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich. And Dish. Watch all your live sports wherever you are. No extra charge with Dish. Hopper hooks you up.
That's one of Bear's favorite photos of his family. The Bear Bryant Museum right here in Tuscaloosa. You know, Southern Miss upset Alabama back in November of '82. Bear Bryant's final home game. You see that hat everywhere you go.
15 national titles, and what used to be a pretty good matchup between these two teams. And the Southern Miss team that challenged with 10 consecutive bowls is a long ways from that.
Christian Jones. That was a nice job of weaving his way through that time. Blake Sims, his night of work continues out there. He's 9 of 14 for 123 yards. Does have the rushing touchdown and the passing touchdown.
Are we about to put this quarterback competition conversation to bed?
Yes, and I don't think it's because, and I love your opinion, that Blake Sims is, lighting the world on fire, managing things, but it's obvious that they've made the decision as who's going to get the work, who they're going forward with. The meat of the SEC season starts next week, and you're not seeing a glimpse of Jake Coker. Blake Sims is out there getting the reps, moving this team, and he is the starting quarterback. And he's going to test him with that guy, Amari Cooper. No catch. Was out of bounds.
Ooh, I don't know about that. I think he gets his foot in.
Did he pull this off? If he did, he's something special.
That right foot.
And he is.
Yeah, I think that right foot is in bounds. We saw earlier a brilliant catch by DJ Thompson on the other side. Look at that right foot.
Oh, is he good, Brock? He is so good that to the eye of the official, they couldn't even see it.
Yeah, the one coaching point there is you'd love to see him push back. Right, try to give the quarterback a little bit more space as he's falling away to the sidelines. You'd also like to see that throw further upfield rather than forcing Amari to drift all the way to the boundary. But he clearly has the right foot down while he has possession of the ball in his hands. That's going to be a completion.
John Bibles, our replay official.
Run, mark this down. Run, movement, play action, and quick passing game. That's who you're going to be. That's what you're going to be.
But with that guy there, you have somebody special that can make what you're saying is a somewhat limited quarterback option and turn it into something special.
It's not limited when you run it first and then you set the tone for everything else.
But we're not talking about 5- and 7-step drops and
sprinkling it in like we saw. We saw the chunk passing play to come out to begin the second half. You can still sprinkle those in occasionally. But what do you want your identity to be? I mean, we saw last week, we were up at Vanderbilt. His right foot's down. I believe the ball's in his hands. We saw a Vanderbilt team that had no identity.
Oh, Alabama has an identity.
That's exactly right.
No doubt about it.
But when you have a quarterback competition all throughout camp and you're splitting reps and you've got two guys with very different strengths, I mean, there's no debate about this. Coker and Sims are very different quarterbacks. And in the building yesterday, listening to Lane and Nick talk about that, from simply the way they communicate and handle and process plays to what we see out on the field.
After review, the receiver had possession of the ball and a foot down inbound at the 41-yard line. Be 1st and 10.
So in a quarterback, quote-unquote, competition that has trickled into the third week of the season, it is critically important you find your identity and hang your hat on who you are heading into SEC play.
They're a team with a loaded running back group with arguably the best receiver in all of college football. And now Blake Sims taking them what could be start to finish here. We'll see if we even have Jake Coker out on the field tonight. Fakes the toss, comes back just as you said, Brock. And Jones lowers his shoulder. Shannon.
Well, Joe, while Blake Sims has been the only guy out there under center so far in this game, we might see Jake Coker before the end of the game. Ever since he came out of the locker room for halftime, he's had his helmet on. He's actually been warming up, throwing the ball for about the last 10 minutes. And I just saw Lane Kiffin walk over to him and hold up one finger. So we might see Jake Coker at some point.
We'll see how Sims finishes off this drive here. Derrick Henry, as he gets to the 25-yard line, tackled by Bradley.
27 runs, 15 passes. You talk about some of that mix. So unfortunately, a Southern Miss defender is down on the ground.
That's Kalen Reed, cornerback who we featured earlier tonight in a few of his matchups. He's had an interception in each of the last 3 games. 323 total yards for Alabama, 157 for Southern Miss. And as you see, not putting weight on that foot. A couple times he's had to deal with Amari Cooper. And there's number 9, 8 catches, 135 yards on the night. Sims has 163 passing. And Cooper has 135 of those. There's the balance of the Alabama offense. Second down run by Derrick Henry. It'll be 3rd and a long 1, tackled by Brian Anderson.
Man, is he a specimen, huh?
He is something.
Holy cow. 150 rushing touchdowns in high school, over 12,000 yards, the all-time record holder. And just, I can't even imagine playing safety or linebacker and seeing him coming down here.
All-time record holder in U.S. high school football history. 12,124 yards. Here's Drake on the toss sweep. First down, Alabama.
Nice job there by the true freshman left tackle Cam Robinson. And again, when you want to talk about some of the identity and growing into the kind of team you want to be, a true freshman left tackle starting for you right out the gate, week number 1, an offensive line that with his growth and development is going to get better. And really, they hope to continue to run this ball better and set the whole table for the rest of your offense.
He pulled that well. Sims, nice job that time. And Cam Robinson, you mentioned, the first true freshman left tackle to start the year that Saban has ever had. Andre Smith back in 06, of course, got playing time as a freshman. They describe him as the most game-ready prize recruit. See all the true freshmen that are making an impact here. Play action, Sims to the end zone. Touchdown, Brian Vogler. Oh, the tight ends do get involved, Brock. That's what they were trying to do tonight, is do a better job of getting the tight ends the ball. 5-yard touchdown reception for the 260-pound senior tight end, the 6'7" Brian Vogler.
See, when we run the ball, see how easy this game is. I'm telling you, Lane, we keep running it this way, and we get all these formations, the different personnel groups together. And how about the offensive efficiency and tempo? Very little rhythm in the first half, even though there were touchdowns on the board. 2 really good tempo, rhythm, efficient drives here in the second half.
Blake Sims has himself 2 touchdown passes now on the night. 35-9 Bama.
ESPN is your home of the new college football playoff.
Well, Andrew Luck doesn't want to see 0-2, Brock. Facing the Eagles, Monday Night Football with Sean McCoy, Nick Foles, and the Eagles going up against the Colts. Monday Night Football on ESPN at 8:15. We had a scene on the Bama bench area moments ago. Lane Kiffin looks down at the chart, points over to Jake Coker. Maybe we'll be seeing him soon enough, as Blake Sims just threw a touchdown pass moments ago to push the margin to 35-9. Michael Thomas on the return for the Golden Eagles. And he cuts back out to the 24-yard line. Let's check in with the studio and Adnan Verk.
All right, thank you very much, Joe Tess, alongside Robert Smith. Marshall Morgan had made an SEC record 20 straight field goals. Now misses back-to-back for Georgia, including this 28-yarder as South Carolina still has a 38-35 lead. It's wild right now, Joe.
Wow, and Morgan's got some serious leg talent. They got a thriller going on in Columbia, South Carolina, in a game that could really define the SEC East race.
Well, game South Carolina has to have.
Oh, undoubtedly, after that opening night against Texas A&M. Here's George Payne as he ran into one of his own linemen that time and had no running room against Dixon.
That was a good play there by Ashawn Robinson right in the middle of this group. And to be honest with you, disappointing film to put on the last 2 weeks. He had such a breakout year as a freshman, 5.5 sacks, led the Crimson Tide. And Kirby Smart said as much. He went up to him this week and said, hey, big fella, I know the knee was banged up and you missed some of camp, but we're rounding into SEC play and I got to have more out of you. I got to see more of an impact. That time he just drives Brandon Farmer into the backfield. Going to need that this season from the big man in the middle.
Mullins just beyond the outreached arms of Thomas.
That's a good throw.
There have been moments with Mullins tonight where he's impressed.
I mean, he has stood in that pocket strong. Just a three-man rush here. And when you're facing three, you've got to throw with some anticipation. And you'd like to see Michael Thomas in a very tight window make a play for his quarterback. Mullins, a guy that I know that this program feels like they can build around in Conference USA play after the schedule loosens up. Mississippi State, Alabama taking a beating on him here early this season.
They're just 1 of 8 on third downs. And Ito Smith looked like he just came out on a wheel route there, and Mullins was able to loft it to him before the pressure got to him. A 26-yard reception to the freshman running back.
And you know this is coming. You've got an unblocked defender. That's Landon Collins, and those hurt. He's going to feel it on the bus ride back to Hattiesburg. They don't sting quite as much when you get the big completion and wheel route, as you said, on the other end.
Here's Smith to the 45. Landon Collins with the tackle, and there is Sims talking things over with Jake Coker, whose helmet is on now, as we anticipate that he will come into the game. Second and 7, as Triplett just found that spot and settled into it for the reception. He's just short, maybe a half-yard short of that line to make. Go up tempo here for 3rd and 1 as Smith is in the backfield. And Ito Smith was met right at the line, but the mark looks good enough for a first down.
And a little bit of exchange of rhythm here, where maybe Alabama's offense in that first half didn't quite have some of the tempo that Coach Saban was looking for, and really has here in the second. And defensively now, you've come out on a couple possessions here, and Southern Miss has put together some pretty good drives.
Going to take a shot downfield. Boy, they set it up well as the end around play action. And Mullins wanted that strike downfield. Tony Brown had coverage for Alabama against Ricard.
You can mark my words on this as well. Alabama's going to need Tony Brown this season.
Well, Tony Brown's one of the most heralded recruits coming out, the true freshman. He is something.
Eddie Jackson's had a remarkable recovery since ACL surgery in April. Back a little bit tight this week. Bradley Silva has really struggled in his opportunities, and Tony Brown, the true freshman, they will need him at some point this season.
2nd and 10. Mullins trying to extend that play. And Casey Martin didn't have a chance there. Collins had coverage on him. Well, Mullins has had to stand up to some things tonight, hasn't he?
When you get a 4-man rush that's in your face, it's a challenge, and you could see some of the grass stains there on the uniform. He's avoided some of the vicious shots. He's gotten the ball out of his hands, but 3rd and 10, this is not a favorable down against this group up front.
Well, you saw the right tackle there take a step back. He was lined up opposite Xavier Dixon. And that's Norman Price, who went in for Jerry Harris.
Start. 72 offense. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
Norman, a big fella out of junior college, been in competition there with Jerry Harris on the right side. Not many 3rd and 15 plays. The challenge with this down and distance, Bama's been able to really affect that pocket with just a 4-man rush, and check down and tackle is not going to be nearly enough in this down and distance.
Third and 15. Here come those 4 again as he tried to go underneath to Ito Smith.
Dupree says, hey, freshman, it's a good thing you dropped that ball, because I was about ready to unload.
By the way, Ito Smith's real name is Romarius. Remember that name, Ito, back in the 90s? It was often said on cable news programs. The Judge Ito during the O.J. Simpson trial?
I do.
That's how he got the name. Ito Smith. His family was watching the O.J. Simpson trial, and they went with the nickname of Ito. That was good special teams coverage that time, and a punt from Sarazen. Now we expect to see Jake Coker. Stay with us. There's Jake Coker making his way out there for the first time tonight. The 6'5", 230-pounder from Mobile, transferred in from Florida State, arrived here on campus in May. A couple years of eligibility left here. The expectations were so high all offseason. Everybody assuming that he would end up with the job, but we've seen Blake Sims as the starter and acquitting himself well tonight. And Derrick Henry's going to try to give them some breathing room. Oh, he almost did more than that, Brock. He could have kept his footing, but still he gets him out past the 11-yard line for a first down. And there is Jake. Big, strong athlete with arm talent.
Still learning in a work in progress, and I found it pretty compelling information yesterday when Lane said it was really the second scrimmage. That second scrimmage here in the stadium where Blake Sims started to really differentiate himself is a guy they felt more comfortable with than Jake Coker, and from that moment it's been an uphill climb, and Blake hasn't given him any room to really make up that competitive race.
Three-step and quickly to Chris Black, and he said of that scrimmage where he faltered, he said he really hasn't gotten his confidence back since then. He really took a step back because of that.
In some of the areas that you can see this that you saw it a week ago, or some of the accuracy, some of the throws that you know he can make in his sleep, and even a situation like that, that's a quick hitch, and you still see him somewhat clutching the ball. Instead of just three, and that ball is just screaming out of there and being so decisive. And when a quarterback is still trying to gain some of that confidence and rhythm, I think you can often most clearly see it with just how much conviction he has in his throws.
2nd and 5. Derrick Henry tried to cut back and fight his way for the first down. Nick Saban said in terms of Jake Coker and the knowledge, experience, and knowing what you're supposed to do, he said really still developing with all of that.
Different system, new terminology. Is there some carryover between Jimbo's system and Nick's system here with Lane Kiffin? There is some. I think people looked at Russell Wilson and some of the other guys that came right in and overwhelmed the program and made it their job. That just was not the case here.
Look at Derrick Henry just having his way. They're 7 of 9 now on third down conversions. Coker and Kiffin. As Lane Kiffin has talked about being much more hands-on. Down on the field, says it's helped with both quarterbacks. Says he forgot how valuable it is as an offensive coordinator to be down there on the field talking to players. Here's the toss to Drake to that boundary side as he rolls his way to the 40-yard line, and they will roll down to the end of the third quarter here. Coker's in. Bama's in control.
ESPN is your home of the new college football playoff.
The University of Alabama, a.k.a. the Capstone. Joe Tessitore, Brock Ewart, Shannon Spade with you here in Tuscaloosa with Jake Coker getting his turn at quarterback here to start the fourth quarter. Came in late in the third. And a quick strike for a first down to Kenyon Drake.
There's a good throw, a decisive throw. We talk about accuracy, and a week ago against Florida Atlantic, there were some really good throws. And then there's just missed opportunities. And when you are fighting and you're trying to climb and win this competition or push yourself back into that competition, you just can't afford misses like that. That's a pitch and catch that he can do 99 out of 100 times. And the margin for error with where Blake Sims is right now, very, very small.
Coker took his time and was able to get it to Christian Jones. And Christian Jones can do so much more inside the 30-yard line. Remember last week, both quarterbacks went for over 200 yards. Sims checked out tonight, his day at 168, 2 touchdowns. Also had a rushing touchdowns and 46 yards.
430 yards combined passing, the second biggest passing yardage day in the history of the program. Remember, this drive started at your own 1-yard line. A little mix of some run and pass.
Here's Drake, and look at Fowler open up the door, and Drake has 3 rushing touchdowns tonight. 29-yard touchdown run by Kenyon Drake. Oh, it's nice to have Fowler just paving the road for you to drive on, isn't it, Brock?
You love big men in the backfield doing damage. I have learned that about you the first few weeks of this season. And as Lane Kiffin said, this has been much more of a 2 tight end kind of team, an H-back than that traditional fullback. And that's one-on-one with Kalen Reed, who was knocked out of the game earlier, and that is a complete mismatch. A worn-down, beat-up Southern Miss team that's gotten the brunt of that run game from beginning to end. And, oh, can you win with run game and play pass and short pass?
Can you?
Yeah, when you break the will of your opponent, it's a pretty good start.
Yeah. 3 rushing touchdowns for Kenyon Drake. Roll Tide, yeah, they're rolling. Lane Kiffin is coaching down on the field for a reason. Breathe, Jake Coker. Take a deep breath. Relax, okay? End of a touchdown drive. 3 for 3 for 36 yards was the 6'5" junior from Mobile.
The eyes of the football world loves to be on the quarterback at Alabama. That's, to me, what I hear right there. Just relax. Okay, just cut it loose, kid, and let's play fun and play this game. It's for fun. That's what this position in this game is all about, right? That, I think, is the constant reminder and the advantage of having your coordinator on the field, those kind of conversations and moments.
What do you say we check in with the Verk in studio?
Thank you very much, Joe Tess. Let you know what's happening at ESPNU, Louisiana Monroe, and LSU. And Robert Smith, this is Darrell Williams here with a touchdown.
I fooled the cameraman, fooled me, fooled you, fooled Brett. Got that thing in there.
Tigers up 10-0 at the half. In Georgia, South Carolina, 4th and inches. Spurrier goes for it, and he gets it.
Boy, he's got the credibility to be able to do something like this. I'm sure that one won't be controversial at all. That's going to be posted in the locker room.
Inch by inch, Gamecocks win it, Joe.
What a win that is. And a win that really, we talked about this earlier this morning on SEC Nation, a game that really would define the SEC East race. Many are already putting Georgia in that college football playoff. Hold on, pump the brakes a second. Funny things happen. Dathan Davis out to midfield. Now let's take a look at this week's rankings brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. You know, 5 SEC teams in the top 10. Georgia takes a loss. South Carolina will now take a bump.
Every week matters so significantly. We were talking during the break there about that call. I don't think that's controversial. Who are you going to trust if you're Steve Spurrier through the first 2 weeks of the season? Your defense or one of your better offensive lines you've ever had in Columbia, South Carolina? You're going to trust that O-line.
The defense has been so shaky for him. It's George Payne, who is wrapped up by Maurice Smith.
Who are you going to trust here at Alabama if you're Nick Saban? And you're Lane Kiffin. Who are you going to trust moving into SEC play? Yeah, I would trust this backfield that's better than anything that Lane ever had at USC. And I'm going to trust a run game that really plays to the strength of my whole team. That if you run the ball, you possess the ball, then you allow the trade to Priest and a front 7 with a lot more depth than you've had in years past to not be on the field nearly as much.
Nick Mullins. And he gets it complete to James Cox, the sophomore from right here in Tuscaloosa. Grew up in the shadows of Bryant-Denny.
This kid sits in there, though, and takes some shots and still delivers. That's a nice comeback throw out to the boundary.
Go with the quick game to Thompson. And usually in a 42-9 game, home fans will lose a little bit of interest. here at the stadium and watching at home, but not the case with what's been going on with Sims and Coker. And they're looking forward to seeing more of Jake Coker playing quarterback for Alabama here in this fourth quarter.
Yeah, and now you see Tim Williams there, 56, defensive end at the bottom of your screen there on that defensive line. You also see some of these young pieces in that front.
As Triplett just settled in and was able to get the first down.
And it's Tim Williams and it's Rashaan Evans. We referenced Tony Brown earlier. Deshaun Hand, another true freshman. And Nick Saban, I thought, pretty enlightening with us yesterday. Just about the kind of players that he is recruiting in this new SEC world that you live in.
Guys who can play in space. That was a good hit by Geno Smith, junior defensive back. Remember, Nick Perry ejected for targeting. Won't play next week in the first half against Florida.
A wholesale substitution. You bring in nearly a whole new defensive line group.
You can do that when you're this deep. Talent drop-off isn't that much. And look at the talent that's on the field right now for Bama with Jonathan Allen and Ashawn Robinson playing in that odd front. 2nd and 2. It was a mishandle of the snap, but Mullins was able to secure it and run ahead and move the chains.
That's a smart play. Once again, we talk about the accuracy and the decision making and so much of the conversation on the other side. But Nick Mullins there, just 8 starts under his belt. As I've said, taken a beating, did a season ago and has at the beginning of this year. But what was a run play, a broken play because of the timing. He doesn't panic. He can see the fast flow of the defense and smart heady, good decision. It's the first down here in the red zone. Let's see if Southern Miss can put 7 on the board. A real focal point for them coming out of halftime.
And Dixon was quick to get to him that time.
There's Dixon, leading sacker with 2 sacks on the season, 7 for his career, leads all the Tide defensive line group.
See Mullins looking down at his wristband. He's 19 to 33 for 207 yards tonight. Tried to stay in that pocket tough against this Tide defense that can swarm you quick. 2nd and 10. Now, it doesn't help when your running back bumps into you and then Trey DePriest is a road grader straight up the middle.
Mullins gets right back up, and yeah, that's not good.
Nothing good will come of that. Moment
no, sir.
of impact with Trey DePriest, 250-pound senior who can crank it up. 3rd and 10. Mullins is going to feel this game for a few days. Dixon again.
It's been a broken record tonight, Tess, but it is that 4-man rush, and it's been different components in it. Dixon, it's been Allen. That time even Rashaan Evans getting some run there, the true freshman out of Auburn, Alabama. And having those healthy bodies, creating that kind of push, having a 4-man rush that can affect the quarterback will be a huge conversation this season in the SEC West.
Here's the guy who's had a nice night for Southern Miss, Corey Acosta. How about 4 for 4? The senior place kicker wants to go to dental school.
ESPN College Football Primetime is brought to you by Verizon XLTE on America's largest, most reliable network, and the Lexus GX. Dare to be spontaneous.
Butch Baldoni of Birmingham's Baldoni Tailoring Company had a great friendship with Bear Bryant, his personal tailor. He's the one who said, how about houndstooth, Bear? And to this day, that is the fabric pattern of choice, the iconic houndstooth. 42-12, Alabama. Jake Coker looking to finish out this game at quarterback.
It's pretty cool what can become a defining brand, isn't it?
That is the case here. Here's Christian Jones on the return. And it's a good return. Let's check in with the studio with my third favorite Canadian of all time. Verk, what do you got?
Let me guess, Joe. Dana Carvey and Pam Anderson alongside Robert Smith, Tennessee, Oklahoma. Trevor Knight to Keith Ford for the touchdown over on ABC.
Well, all kinds of easy out there in the flat, little mix-up in the coverage. We also like the singing out of the booth.
Oh, yeah, 13-0 at the end of the first quarter. Coming up next, Kenny Hill so far been singing a sweet tune like you guys in the Dixieland Delight. A&M going to face Rice. That's coming up next right here on ESPN2. Back to you two.
I was actually going with the entire band Rush, but if Verk wants Carvey and Pam Anderson, then Verk, you go for it, my Canadian friend.
They can hear us during break? Is that what I just learned?
He listens well. That's why I like the Verk. Carvey and Pam. Well done, Verk. Will it be well done here in the fourth quarter for Jake Coker? That's the arm talent, but he gets a drop on the other end that time by Cam Sims.
Same play, and that was a seed. You can't throw it any better than that. And Cam trying to figure out as a true freshman where he is on the field, whether or not had to get the feet in, and lost concentration there on a frozen rope from Coker. I don't think there's any debate or any doubt. You can see Lane Kiffin right at the bottom of your screen. Look at him trying to still communicate to that group.
Lane has his own personal get-back coach over there. Tyron Jones now. A lot of room for Jones. Wasn't touched until he nearly got down to the 40-yard line, and Emmanuel Johnson met him. A redshirt freshman from Marietta, Georgia, 20-yard run. Here's Jones again. Right side of that line is making this all too easy. Tyron Jones, another good gainer that time.
Yeah, and this is your backup. These are your number 2 linemen, and this is just basic stuff. And this is what happens when you physically wear down and beat down an opponent. You can put your backups in the game and your 4th tailback of the night and just have massive movement and holes.
Play action now. Coker gets it complete to Nicewander. The backup fullback, the senior, comes in behind Jalston Fowler.
That is an awfully deep running back room. I know the guys in Arkansas would have a good debate and conversation about depth and talent, but a variety of skill sets and make you pay on the ground.
There's Jones again. Cut back. And another one. You reference Arkansas, folks. If you haven't done it, go click the box score on the Arkansas win against Texas Tech. It'll blow your mind what that backfield did today. Alex Collins and Jonathan Williams. One went for 212 and 2 touchdowns. The other went for 145 and 4 touchdowns. As Bradley is slow to get up there, reaching for his right leg. Dylan Bradley, the sophomore bandit end for the Golden Eagles. A reminder, you can get your NFL Sunday started early, 10 a.m. on ESPN. It is Sunday NFL Countdown presented by Snickers. Chris Berman in the gang will get you set for the full day of action. And Fantasy Football Now presented by Papa John's, 11 a.m. on ESPN2. Kiffin spent a lot of time with Jake Coker in recent months, getting him prepared for this moment of this fall. He arrived on campus in May, had to graduate from Florida State to then be eligible to play right away here. So got a little bit in with his teammates, and then of course fall camp with Kiffin and Coach Saban. 1st and goal. Coker, tuck, run, can he? They're marking him short. Draper Riley got over in front of him.
And if you need further demonstration of this being a run play action team, and that's going to be awfully close as Alabama again hustles to the line.
And Jones was stacked up, hesitated for a moment, and Johnson met him. So they are backed up a yard, and it'll be 3rd and goal.
But if there's further evidence for what kind of identity you're going to see here with Florida and the Gators rolling into town and Will Muschamp next weekend, even with Coker in the game, you haven't seen 7-step drop back and shotgun and all the vertical passing. What have you continued to see? You've seen the run, some of the boots and the nakeds and the movement passing and the quick passing off of it.
Tight formation here, 3rd and goal with Jones as the back. Play action. Escaped the first man and is pushed back towards the 14-yard line by Dashman McCullum.
And that's just the 2nd sack of the season for Alabama, and you can see Nick Saban there saying try to find a way to throw it away, and that's where Blake Sims has been really good, right? And we have watched Blake Sims when that play breaks down, and I'm sure that will be some of the conversation here with Nick and quarterback is, hey, you get down in the red zone here. I like you trying to be creative and make a play. Also, know when it's dead and throw it away.
That sends out Adam Griffith for the field goal attempt. It's his full-time job now, replacing Cade Foster. Very nice strike of the ball by Griffith. So a 9-play drive with Coker and company. 6 minutes remaining here in T-Town.
ESPN is your home of the new college football playoff.
The all-new chase begins in Chicago. MyAFibStory.com 400 at Chicago Sunday at 1 on ESPN. You can support your nation of racers at #MyChaseNation. All that work with the quarterbacks for Lane Kiffin.
Told us yesterday it's been kind of fun the first couple games. Haven't even watched one live defensive snap. Back in the day as the head man at USC, having tried to manage all of it as both play caller and coordinator, and watch that defense. Different job and different deal for him here.
Studio check-in. It's not Dan Aykroyd or Will Arnett. It's Adnan Virk.
Now we're just getting out of control, Joe. Purdue and Notre Dame. Danny Etling to Dezo Yancey. What's going on? Purdue's up, Robin Smith?
Purdue is up. That's right. The same Purdue who lost to Central Michigan a week ago. The same Central Michigan that got blown out by Syracuse. What's going on?
Syracuse close to Canada, by the way. Also, Kenny Hill, Texas A&M, they're facing Rice just about 3 minutes away, as we'll see if Kevin Sumlin's team continues to roll. Your move, Joe.
And I think number 3 was far too high now that I think of it with Aykroyd and Will Arnett, but busy day that the Virk is keeping up with. Cole Weeks is in at quarterback. Nick Mullins tried as he could and was valiant with 200 yards, but he took some serious damage here in this second half. So here's Weeks. An incomplete over the top there. Shannon.
Hey, Joe, we know that Trey DePriest is the quarterback of this defense for Alabama. Kirby Smart told me before the game he wants to see how this unit performs without Trey DePriest out there. In fact, in some of these, when they're talking on the bench, he's had Trey DePriest sit off to the side. This is something he tried to do last weekend, but because it was weather shortened, he wasn't able to see how they executed on the field. So he's looking for mental errors, see if they can get lined up properly without that guy, Trey DePriest.
That's a good point, Shannon. Everybody plays better when he's on the field, but what if he's not on the field? He wasn't on the field week number 1 against West Virginia, and you saw the gaping hole in leadership and play. And he's going to need the Reuben Fosters and the Reggie Reglans and the guys with inexperience to grow up and learn how to communicate with DePriest like DePriest can.
He's unhooking those shoulder pads. This will be shutting it down and getting ready to prep for Florida.
Those middle linebackers are such an extension of those defensive coordinators on the field, especially the good ones like Trey. And Kirby saying, I think many people assumed that last year CJ did a lot of the communication. CJ Mosley, the first-round pick with the Ravens, that wasn't the case. Trey was still the guy to often settle people down and make a majority of the calls.
3rd and 6 for Weeks. And he just missed with Ricard on that slant. So it'll be 4th down. 5 minutes and counting down to play here in Tuscaloosa.
Well, you were in Gainesville this morning with SEC Nation.
Yes.
They're in a battle with Kentucky tonight. And from what you have felt and seen around Gainesville and what we got to experience tonight, how do you see that one playing out in this building next week with the home also of SEC Nation?
I think they're happy to be healthy is what I think. Now, right now they only have a field goal lead on Kentucky as it stands, but you know the talent that's on that defense. As Jones calls for the fair catch, and that's a defense that's really going to challenge Blake Sims and Alabama. Should be a good one. That's next Saturday, though. We got business to finish up here.
Right now over on ESPN3 and Goal Line Network, it's Rice and Texas A&M. That will be coming up next on ESPN2 once Southern Miss and Alabama finishes up 45-12 right now for the Crimson Tide. Back to Joe Tess, who now has Tom Green ahead of me on the favorite Canadians.
And don't even get involved with John Candy or Jim Carrey, Verk. 4:50 to play here in Tuscaloosa. Here's Coker going to wind it up, Brock. But beyond Falcons.
Exact same throw we showed you earlier in the night. That deep post, and you can see his reaction. He liked it when it left his hand. He throws a very pure ball. I mean, that is a tight spiral, just a little bit more air on it. He missed it a week ago against FAU. You have more margin for error if you can put more air on that football. E-R-R-O-R versus A-I-R right there.
Here's Tenpenny. As he squares those shoulders and accelerated out to the 36. So Coker put that 56 yards in the air here. We know what he is in terms of just raw arm talent. Speaking of arm talent, Rice and Texas A&M is going to be coming your way. Kenny Hill, as his big year continues, be at home against Rice. You know, Rod Gilmore has been preparing to broadcast that game all week long and take a real close look at just what Texas A&M is in terms of where they rank among the contenders in the SEC West. 3rd and 5. Coker with time. That was a shallow crossing route as Foster was tackled just beyond the line of scrimmage.
I don't think Coach Monken on the other side has any issue with that, any problem with that. I think there's an understanding as an offensive coordinator, an offensive-minded head coach. It's not about rubbing it in, just running the game out. You're trying to get Coker some of this valuable reps and opportunities. Not many of them left as he pushes into SEC play. This is going to be Blake Sims' team. Just give Coker the chance to throw it.
Flag is down as J.K. Scott launched that punt ahead.
Personal foul, roughing the kicker, 6 of the defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic 1st down.
Oh, he's lucky that his plant foot gave way there. Remember, we did that Tennessee game opening week, and that wasn't the case with Dar, the punter for Tennessee. A busy day in the SEC. Obviously, we had the thriller with South Carolina, but Arkansas and Brett Bielema, this team was winless in the SEC last year, but you could see it coming. You knew where they were headed. They ran all over Texas Tech today, and the good times keep on rolling for Ole Miss.
Ole Miss more than likely going to be undefeated and welcome in Alabama. Alabama, who has obviously the Gators coming to town next week, and then they go out on the road. 4 of their next 5 will be away from Tuscaloosa.
Alec Morris comes in at quarterback now. He hands off to Jones, who's had himself some really nice work here in this 4th quarter. He was met hard that time. Let's go to the studio, check in with Adnan again.
All right, Joe, Purdue and Notre Dame. Everett Golson here using his legs. 15-yard touchdown run, Robert Smith. Irish up by 3 at the half.
Well, so improved in so many ways. The throwing motion, excellent. But the speed and agility of Everett Golson this year, so much better than it was 2 years ago.
Speed and agility. Sounds like Joe Tess.
Thank you, Bert. 2nd and 1 here. As Jones picks up the first down. Alec Morrison at quarterback here, the sophomore from the well-resourced high school football hotbed of Allen, Texas. Had a good camp, has a big arm. There are many here who thought that prior to Coker's transfer and Sims' emergence that perhaps he had a good chance of winning the quarterback job following A.J. McCarron. Tenpenny. Upended and up and over.
Well, it's sure going to be a fascinating year in this SEC West. When you look at an LSU, when you look at an Arkansas, who you talked about, when you look at this Alabama team, who clearly I think the identity has started to take shape as you push into SEC play next week. You've got those teams that are going to run it and run it and run it. And then you see, as we saw, an Ole Miss team last week, and you see some of the others that are just going to try to find a way to do it through the air. Just the different identities in this conference. Fascinating to me.
How about this stretch coming up for Alabama? Florida next week, and then the bye week before they go to Ole Miss. And the way Arkansas is playing right now, you know what you're in store for there. Texas A&M and the passing attack that'll test this defensive backfield at the bye week before LSU as well.
That Ole Miss team is going to be a lot more equipped and ready to battle this Crimson Tide team than they were a year ago in this place. Remember, they were undefeated. They got ranked in the top 20. They were so much hype around Bo Wallace and Hugh Freeze. And Hugh Freeze told us pretty point blank last week that he felt like his defense was SEC West ready. That they were really ready to go. Now, some depth on the O-line, tight end, wide receiver, still some things that Hugh Freeze would like there. But that's a group that's going to play really good defense. You know Florida will next week as well. There's going to be some hard-fought affairs.
I made the statement a few months ago that I felt the SEC West was the best division, not in college football, Brock, as Tenpenny takes inside the 10, but in all of sports. And to think that Arkansas is the bottom with that running attack and that level of talent, what they just did against not a bottom Big 12 team, but a just north of middle Big 12 team today at their place.
Yep. How
good from top to bottom is the SEC West?
Yes, and Mississippi State also destroyed this Southern Miss team to begin the year. Yeah, there is. You look at that schedule, and even Tennessee.
Where's their day off?
We saw Tennessee. We'll see Tennessee tonight against Oklahoma, right? One of the Big 12 powers. I know it's not the SEC West. It's on the other side. But yeah, I can't wait to watch that one because I think Tennessee is also greatly improved from where they were.
Yeah, they're hanging with Oklahoma right now in the second quarter. It's just a 6-point margin. But, you know, if Arkansas is the bottom and a winless team and they just did that to Texas Tech, wow, is this some division. As Jones is going to add a little more in the final half minute here of this game. Jake Coker's going to finish his night 5 of 7 for 46 yards. As he got playing time just at the end of the third quarter and then the entire fourth quarter. Alec Morris came in at the very end there, and Blake Sims led the way with 168 yards passing, 2 passing touchdowns and the 1 rushing touchdown. It was a slow start for Alabama, but a predictable finish. Right out this Bama team, as you got to spend a week with them and broadcast this game tonight, as now they get to the meat of this SEC schedule.
I'm not fully confident to say that they're going to run this table. I just don't. This SEC West, for everything that you just referenced, is going to be brutal week in and week out. This offensive line, and for as little as we talked about them tonight, it's the quarterback, it's the running backs. As little as we talked about this offensive line, for the way they want to play, that will be the single most critical factor for me pushing into this season. Can that left tackle, can Cam Robinson be what Laramie Tunsil was a year ago and be an impact All-American freshman? And he's growing in that way.
Well, Florida's tied at the half with Kentucky, just 3-3. So the Florida defense is what you expected. Florida offense, not tonight against Kentucky, but they're going to arrive here in town next week.
3 questions I had coming into tonight. Quarterback.
Yep.
Blake Sims, very, very efficient and very solid.
You don't see a competition here. I don't think there's a competition to see. I think they've made up their mind. This is the direction you're going and work with what you have.
And unless Blake goes out in SEC play and gives Lane and Nick any reason to doubt and brings Coker back into the conversation, yes, this is going to be his team going into SEC play. Secondly, was that secondary. And still very few takeaways for this team. I think forcing the issue there when Driscoll comes to town and being able to take the football away from your opponent will still be a focal point for this group. And then that defensive line and Jonathan Allen and Ashawn and all the kids that we saw run through there, 8, 9, 12 deep, that will be pivotal through this stretch of snaps that you're going to play against an A&M and a Tennessee and an Ole Miss crew here in the weeks to come.
Casey Martin trying to make the most of this return.
Final grade, B+, A-. If I've got to put a grade on it. Because I still want to see some of those plays out on the perimeter in that first quarter. I still want to see more offensive efficiency and tempo early and not have to wait to come out in the second half to get it done. I'd still like to see the ball taken away more defensively. So probably that A-, B+, and we'll learn a whole lot more when a lot more speed and strength and athleticism come in here to test this team than what they've seen the last 2 weeks.
Final play of the game here. Alabama had 547 total yards of offense. 52-12. They move to 3-0. Up next, college football finale. Rice against Texas A&M. For Shannon and Brock, I'm Joe Tessitore. Enjoy the rest of your night as we get you to Mark Jones down there in College Station.